Let me ask you a question. Which do you think is more expensive? A $1,000 Android phone or a $1,000 iPhone? That might seem like a trick question, but it's not. And we will answer that, but first let me give you a hint. I'm not talking about price, because Apple products have something that no other consumer electronics maker has been able to replicate. They have incredible resale value. So today I want to explore this really fascinating phenomenon and uncover some of the trends behind why this happens, and also the areas where it's not happening as much. The old adage of Apple products don't depreciate isn't exactly universal, and today we're going to find out why, right after a word from today's video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Taurus. Their new Diamond Shield screen protector is an absolute tank. They use CSG glass found in military-grade applications, fortified with triple ion exchange tech to make glass 4 times stronger than normal. They also use Edge Force technology to guard weak points and prevent pesky corner cracks. Plus, it comes with X-Silk fingerprint-resistant technology to keep your screen smooth and clean. This thing is tailor-made for iPhone 15, fitting the contours perfectly and creating a truly invisible defense. It also comes with InstaFit, the easiest applicator on the market. Just align the frame of your iPhone and watch it smoothly adhere like magic. No bubbles or dust trapped under the glass. This thing is an absolute legend, so if you want to learn more, definitely check out the link in the description below. And now let's get back to the video. It's almost a meme at this point that Apple products just don't depreciate the same way as other products. Let me give you an example of this, okay? Here's a couple of listings on eBay for the iPhone 12 Pro. That came out more than 3 years ago at this point, and you can see that you can still get almost $400 for a base model 128 gigabyte version. That's almost 40% of its original purchase price after more than 3 years. That's pretty impressive. But what about the competition? What about a $1,000 Android phone from the same year, like the Samsung Galaxy S20? Oh yeah, that's not great. We're looking at about 16% of its original purchase price. Now, obviously, if you're trading in your phone, there's going to be other factors that impact its relative value. But if we're just talking about straight up purchase price, go on eBay, sell your phone, that is a very significant difference. And that can save you a significant amount of money if you're on a typical 2 or 3 year smartphone upgrade cycle. I mean, comparing the Samsung to the iPhone, that's like 200 extra bucks in your pocket every 2 to 3 years by going for the iPhone, even though they have the same price. That's significant. You can literally pick any iPhone and any Android phone from any year and you will find the same trend. How about the iPhone 13? Those are still about $400, but you can buy a Google Pixel 6 Pro, which was more expensive when it was new at the same time, for less than $200. This is like, it's comical. It's just comical at this point, and it's true across all product categories except for the Mac right now. Here are some Dell XPS 15s with the 9th generation Core i9 selling for about $1,000 to $1,400. And here are some MacBook Pro 15 and 16 selling for, well, less than $1,000 with the same exact processor in them. Why? Well, it's obvious. It's because that was the end of the Intel era when we were all basically like, all right, we got to get this over with. We need to move on to something better. But there are a few cracks in the Apple products don't depreciate curve when we move into Apple Silicon days, weirdly, because these guys are depreciating way more than I would have thought. Like, how do we explain the fact that this 16-inch MacBook Pro is $1,200? I just don't understand how this thing is somehow only marginally more expensive than an Intel MacBook Pro with a butterfly keyboard and somehow less expensive than a 4.5-year-old Dell. Like, the math just doesn't add up here. Sorry to interrupt myself, but apparently I don't know how math works because I've been just showing you 3-year-old iPhones worth 40% of their original purchase price. And this MacBook at $1,178 out of an original starting price of $2,399 is about 48% of its original purchase price, which lines up pretty well. But the issue is not as much the percentages, more the competition. Like, it's just weird to me that you can buy a Dell XPS from 4.5 years ago for more money than a 16-inch MacBook Pro, mini LED Pro Motion display, Apple Silicon. Like, it's just a very weird situation to me. But that being said, not all Macs are created equal, and depending on which one you buy, the depreciation rate can vary dramatically. Here, for example, is an M1 Max MacBook Pro with the upgraded 64 gigabytes of RAM. This thing was definitely over $4,000 new, and now we're getting it for under $2,000. So that's less than 50% of its original value. But on the other hand, if you go for a MacBook Air, you can have almost no depreciation at all. Like, take a look at these M1 MacBook Air listings. $650, $675. These things were $1,000 new. That's 60% of its original price over 3 years since it came out. And that's not even considering that maybe you bought that thing in like 2022 for $750 from Best Buy, in which case you're losing $150 in 2 years. That's like ridiculous. Oh, and by the way, if you want to talk about ridiculous, the iPad is pretty ridiculous. This is my 2018 11-inch iPad Pro. I got this thing in 2020 and I paid about $550 for it. How much do you think it would cost to go buy one of these right now? Well, looking through these eBay results here, it looks like it's about $400. Now, granted, you can get 256 gigabytes and you can get cellular, which are things that I don't have, but it really hasn't depreciated all that much in 4 years. 4 years, a $500 tablet becomes a $300 tablet. That's crazy. And if we go for something newer like an M1 iPad Pro, well, for decent ones, I'm seeing about $600 here, I'm seeing $510 over here. Here's another for $600. And keep in mind, new, these are $800. So after almost 3 years, because this model came out in 2021, you're going from $800 to $600. That's like insanely low. I kind of can't believe that. I mean, this thing was $800 in 2018, 6 years ago, and it's still worth $300? That's crazy. Like, I just don't understand. So I've always been fascinated by this phenomenon. Why is it that Apple products just hold their value so much better? And honestly, I think it's just because they retain their usability for a lot longer than other devices. I mean, when you look at the iPhone, a typical Android phone is only going to get 3 years of software updates. Apple goes for much longer than that, although I still can't explain why you can get a 16-inch M1 Pro MacBook Pro for less than a Dell XPS. That just doesn't make any sense to me. But broadly speaking, it is pretty impressive how well Apple products hold their value, and that's definitely something that you can benefit from as a consumer. Number one, if you're buying a used Apple product, you can safely assume that you're not going to lose a lot of money to depreciation. I paid $550 for an iPad 4 years ago, and it's worth $300 now. That's ridiculous. And if you're spending $1,000 on an iPhone, you know that you'll get a couple hundred back in 2 or 3 years when you sell it, which is definitely not the case for Android phones. So I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts on the situation. Have you ever noticed that Apple products hold their value so well? Have you taken advantage of it in some way? Let me know in the comments down below. And of course, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And with that, I will see you guys in the next one.